Hi everyone, my name is Hector Sanjuan and I'm the lead for IPFS cluster. I'm going to give you a quick update of what happened in the last quarter. And I would like to expand on cluster in one conference session a bit longer to talk about the internals and all the pieces in the IPFS world that we use and all the cool things that we do. But let's start with this. I'm going to tell you what cluster does and what it wants to do, and we're going to see what we did and also what we want to do in the future. Cluster aims to be a tool to orchestrate pin sets on top of several IPFS daemons. The team right now is me, Adrian Lanzafame, and Michelle. She's partially working with that, and I think she's going to work more with us during this quarter. We do pin replication. That means pushing content to different IPFS daemons in your network and replicating them to several replication factors. We choose which peers are the better suited for the content based on the free disk space. We provide APIs. We provide authentications on those APIs. We expose them through libp2p. We can attach HTTPS. So they're quite versatile and quite easy to integrate with. We provide what we call composition, which is a proxy to the IPFS daemon underlying the IPFS cluster peer, which means that your cluster can behave like an IPFS daemon or expose an IPFS compatible API. We have awesome documentation. We worked really hard last quarter in setting up a website and updating documentation. We have guides. Everything is documented in much detail. And well, something that we do as a team is also running the storage cluster and the pinbots for the community. So if you go to the IPFS pinbot IRC channel, for example, and you tell the pinbot to pin, it will pin in our storage cluster, and we're running that 5 peers with lots of storage behind. What do we want to be? We want to do a bunch of things. One of them is, say you want to run a bunch of IPFS nodes. We want to make it easy for you. We want to be the tool that allows you to replicate and store large amounts of data. We want to be the tool that allows groups of users which are interested in archiving or backing up data on top of IPFS to make that easy for them. To have different organizations which are archiving data on top of IPFS to be able to collaborate easily. We also want to be an example and a validator of IPFS and libp2p technologies and how you can build upon them. We use PubSub, we use IPFS, we use libp2p, we use IPLD now. So these are all things which we are testing on top, and this allows you to, and it has happened before, uncover things that we need that it will be good to have in these libraries below, and things which are not working and that we can report and fix for everyone in the community. On the last quarter, the main milestone was the 0.040 release. There were several things that we changed. One was the pin tracker, which is basically making sure that IPFS daemon is correctly pinning what cluster wants it to pin and correctly tracking that content. We made a lot of fixes in there. We extracted the consensus component, meaning that we refactored and made it an independent layer that we can more easily replace in the future. I'll talk a little bit about that later. And this refactor brought configurations changes, and we also introduced PubSub for metric distribution, etc. Which was that? 1 minute. No. Managed to retake the dark sharding branch. This is a feature of cluster that will allow you to, if you have something that is too big to store on a single IPFS daemon, it will be divided across your cluster IPFS daemons. It's really cool. We need a couple of things from Go IPFS. We submitted those, so we're close to having no blockers to actually finish this. As I told you, finished the IPFS cluster website. Looks really cool. Thank you, Agatha, for the design. And Adrian joined the cluster team, so that meant onboarding, making him a productive member of the whole thing. And welcome. It's great to have you on board. In the short term, and I don't want to make many promises, that's why I reduced this to the minimum. Q3 will be dark sharding. I will be spearheading the monitoring, exposing metrics, and doing things about how cluster peers monitor each other and distribute the internal metrics and so on. Adrian will be working on that, and Michelle will be doing user research and outreach, figuring out what our users want, reaching out to users, trying to have people run cluster and see how we can support them. I will skip that. I will skip that. I will skip that. Yeah, because those are hidden. You see, they shouldn't show, even in present mode. In the midterm, we want better composite clusters. We want collaborative pin sets, which is basically clusters that can scale to the thousands. And we want, since we will have more metrics and more monitoring, we want to start measuring how long it takes to ingest data and to distribute it using cluster and using IPFS, and more automation and deployment for people that run cluster and IPFS on production. How can they automate deployment of these tools in their data centers? In the very long term, forward error correction and other storing methods that will allow you to efficiently store your data and replicate it, and being able to basically back up very large amounts of data, and that cluster scales the way it needs to scale. I think that was it. Thank you very much. I'm happy to answer any questions. Juan?
China, I would the parenty, the DHT, the crystal.
We're gonna our problem and question is we're gonna delete some files on the private cluster, and it's not possible nowadays. So this is our question.
Yeah, you need to run garbage collection. If you have...
We have an application in our the product Parenty cloud server. We now use the IPFS the crystal, the Parenty the IPFS the crystal, but the IPFS cannot delete the file. And our the file is a friend, a family to share his file, and the file he can
return,
cancel, and I want to cancel my file in this the IPFS crystal, preference crystal. Yes, I cancel.
So if you have a private swarm of IPFS with IPFS cluster, you cannot use cluster to delete a file. You need to unpin it from cluster. This will unpin it from IPFS, and then you have to run garbage collection on IPFS to eliminate the file. We can go over it later also. I can tell you that.
I was wondering if you might want to run a session this week on like people setting up cluster and like trying it out.
We can do that too.
I think it would be really cool to just get people familiar with running it, because it's really awesome. Like it has been much easier to use IPFS since I started using cluster. So.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we can do that, and I have a session also about the internals, because yeah, we use P2P consensus, and I think we're the only ones actually on this front. So.
I don't know whether to ask this question to you, Hector, or Lars, but Kubernetes IPFS cluster, where do I go to learn?
Probably me. I would say this falls within my effort to provide automation deployment methods for IPFS and IPFS cluster. And this is there. And hopefully we're going to hire someone specifically to work on these automations. Kubernetes, Docker, Puppet, Chef, everything should be there.